Hello, I'm Father Louis Scurti with Friends of the Word. Thank you for joining us. Today, Sister Diane, Collesano, and I are here at the Mother House of the Sisters of Charity Convent Station in this beautiful church, their chapel, which is Holy Family Chapel. And we're talking about this beautiful woman behind us. She is Blessed Teresa Demyanovich, beatified at the Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark, New Jersey on October 4th, 2014. And we've had a series of conversations about Sister Teresa, and I just want to use a little quote and then pick up with her life in the convent. She was a caring, a teacher, loving sister. Was anything wrong with her? Did she have anything? They say about Saint Jerome, Saint Jerome who translated the Vulgate, the Bible, into the common language. He had a terrible temper. But it's a great saint. Anything shady about?
Well, Sister believed in keeping the rule wholeheartedly. And I think there were probably those who felt uncomfortable because it made them feel or seem less if they did not have the same devotion to the rule.
I remember in the seminary, the deacons would come back and they'd talk about their experiences in the parishes. And one day, one guy said, my pastor's a saint. I said, really? Why? He says, forget wanting to hear about why. Just know that it's hell living with a saint. I said, whoa.
Well, I don't think it was
No,
that
I don't think it was hell,
in this case.
But
It was certainly a challenge for others. And also to see someone who was a postulant and novice so already advanced.
That's great.
In the interior life.
Now, we shared little sections before about the Greater Life, which is the book on her life based on her own readings and writings. This quote I thought was so beautiful. The reason we have not yet become saints is because we have not understood what it means to love. We think we do, but we do not. To love means to annihilate oneself for the beloved. The self-sacrifice of a mother for her child is the only shadow of love wherewith we should love the beloved of our soul. To love is to conform oneself to the beloved in the most intimate manner of which we are capable. To have no views but his views, no thoughts but his thoughts, no desires but his desires, no likes but his likes, no wants but his wants, no hopes but his hopes, no will but his will. There it is. Beautiful. To live that way. It's nice to write it. It's wonderful to write it. It's miraculous to write it. But you say she lived that way, didn't she?
She lived that way, and she lived it in the everyday disciplines that would have gone on with being a postulant and novice in religious life, both in her responsibility with her teaching, in the responsibility she would have had around the novitiate, and with recreation with her other sisters. One day, because she was on a teaching schedule, since she was already a college graduate, and many of the novices were still going to school in order to obtain their degrees, Sister was on a little bit of a different schedule than the other novices. So when she came home one afternoon, tired from teaching, the novice director said, go out to Nazareth Park, which is here on the property, and take a walk. Go as far as the crucifix and come back. But it was already late afternoon. It was dusk. And if we remember, she did have limited eyesight. And so she was a little leery about going out, taking that walk alone. And as I said, Therese of Lisieux had just been canonized that year that she had entered. So she asks for Therese to accompany her in prayer as she goes for this walk. And in fact, Therese appeared to her and walked the entire path of Nazareth Park with her right back to the novitiate door.
When did she share that?
She shared that in a biography that she had begun to write prior to her death. Yes. And so we see in her this sense of already living the holy within the everyday. She had, as I said, had achieved union with God prior to her entrance into the congregation. Father Bradley let her make a series of vows, private ones, once she entered. She made a vow of greater perfection to always do everything with the greatest love that she could do. And she also took vows of chastity and obedience to her spiritual director, etc., during these formative times in religious life. Unfortunately, Sister's health became poor, and she was hospitalized a few times, was never able to gain back her strength. And thus, in 1927, she was hospitalized in what was St. Elizabeth's Hospital, now Trinitas in Elizabeth, for the last time. While there, her brother, who was, as we said, a priest in the Newark diocese, was able to ask the Reverend Mother if she could make her final profession on her deathbed, and she was allowed to do that. So she died as a full professed member of the Sisters of Charity of St. Elizabeth. And for that, she was so happy, along with her brother, and we are most grateful that she truly was one of us. What we see in her is this, and I'm convinced it comes from her Eastern Rite background, this sense of the Holy Spirit constantly guiding and being with us, indwelling us. She speaks about the Trinity in almost everyday casualness, not that she thought it was common, but that she understood that the Trinity truly lives with us, and we are invited to live within the Trinity. And having been to an Eastern Rite liturgy, the Trinity truly is central. So she would have grown up hearing this, and it had become so much a part of who she was. And so she brings that to a Roman Rite congregation.
Just explain that piece. She was a Slovak by baptism.
Right, and she was a member of the Byzantine Ruthenian Rite, which means her church is in union with the Catholic Church.
Right.
But within the Catholic Church, there are 21 rites, though the Roman Rite is the most familiar to probably most of your viewers.
Sure.
There are 21 rites in the Church which are allowed to keep their own form of the liturgy, prayer, have many of their own saints. And we're using the vernacular in their church long before we were.
Vatican II, right?
Yes, exactly. When she entered the Sisters of Charity, at that time in history, it was not required that she switch rites. So she remained a member of the Eastern Rite Church, though her family did attend a Roman Rite church at times in Bayonne when it was more convenient.
Right. Well, and that's important because it's still the Catholic Church.
Exactly, and you're welcome to receive at either church.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I always think of John Paul II calling it the other lung.
Exactly.
The Eastern Church, the Western Church. So she became ill. I know she had macular degeneration.
No, macular, that was the cure.
Oh, the
of
cure.
The young man,
yes.
Which was really fit in that she had limited eyesight, and then the young man who was cured had a serious eye disease.
Right. Well, just talk about that.
All right. Michael Mercer was an 8-year-old boy in St. Anastasia's in Teaneck, and was losing his eyesight for macular degeneration. Was already declared, he was legally blind, could no longer play with his friends. He walked into a car on Route 4, couldn't ride a bicycle, etc. anymore. The principal and his teacher, Sister Mary Augustine, gave Michael to bring home a little memento of Sister Miriam and the prayer to pray. Michael brought it home to his mother, and the whole family prayed. And they did this for over 2 weeks. During this time, the family was in the process of moving to South Jersey. And Michael says by the time they moved to South Jersey, he again could ride his bike. His mother took him to an eye doctor, and he had 20/20 vision and still has it today in his late 50s.
As a matter of fact, what did he do at the Basilica?
He was present with us for the beatification. He brought forth the relic of Sister Miriam and presented it to the congregation beautifully. But we see, in Michael, it was his family's faith. Sister Rosemary, our General Superior, said so well at the beatification. It's really the faith of Michael's family that brought us to Saturday's moment.
Yes.
That allowed for the miracle to happen.
It's important that a really know the significance of a relic in the life of the church, in the church. A relic is a part of a person's body or a part of something that touched the person or something this person owned. It sounds a little medieval sometimes, but it's no different on a higher plane than us keeping mementos of our parents and grandparents, beautiful pictures of them close to our hearts and our wallets, even though they may be passed.
A relic is a sign and a symbol, and we're human beings.
Yes.
We have bodies.
Yeah, we
need signs and symbols.
Yes.
The relic does not perform the miracle. Even the blessed or the saint does not perform the miracle. The miracle is performed by God.
Yes.
But Jesus did tell us when two or more join voices, he's present in the midst. And so what better than to have one already in heaven pray with us?
Exactly.
And so when we ask for intercession, we're simply asking in the communion of saints for one that we love to join us in prayer. And so we ask Sister Miriam Teresa to continue to beg God for the favors that we desire, but particularly that we'd each grow in the greater perfection of love.
And I'd like to ask her, as another Hudson County kid, to watch over the word that we share and the ministry of evangelization through Friends of the Word and the Sisters of Charity. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
These interviews have been spectacular. I've been with Sister Diane Collesano talking about the life of Sister Blessed Miriam Teresa Demjanovich, a Sisters of Charity who is resting in heaven and watching over all of us. Thank you
very much.
God bless you.